Well guys, we got a little bit of a problem. This EcoDiesel has a timing cover oil leak. Oh my goodness. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that a couple of years ago when the third generation EcoDiesel first went on sale, originally it was in the Ram 1500. The Ram 1500 was the first truck that they put that new EcoDiesel engine in. And then later on it was in the Wrangler, and then finally the Gladiator. Now the Ram that I had, at about 5,000 miles, it developed an oil leak, and I noticed it because it started dripping on my garage floor. Took it to the dealership. They have a really good diesel mechanic over there. He ran dye through it and found out that it was coming from the timing cover. It was on the driver's side of the engine, kind of up high on the front of the block. And so they ordered a whole new timing cover. Took a week for it to come in. Took a few more days to get it installed because it's a pretty big job actually. Well, here we are 2 years later, and I've got the Jeep with the third gen EcoDiesel, and I noticed when I was crawling around under there about 3 or 4 weeks ago that it was wet on the passenger side of the block. So I wiped it all down, dried it up real good, looked at it again here just a few minutes ago, and it's wet again. And it's wet to the point where it's actually dripping off of some of the bolt heads going up into like where the oil pan is. So it's got a oil leak just like the other one that I had, and it's just on the other side of the engine. So I'm gonna call tomorrow, get another appointment, and take this one in for surgery, I guess. But the point I wanna get to here is it's just really frustrating how this stuff goes on and on and on before Jeep will get it fixed, you know? The Chrysler brands in general. It's like, how can you let something like this, that's such a big issue, and you're spending lots of money to repair these under warranty? Because it's not just me. I mean, I've had 2 of these and both of them leaked. If you read through the forums, you'll see a lot of guys that have had these leaks, you know, so they're spending a lot of money to repair these. I just don't understand how you let this go for 18 months, 2 years, and it's still the same issue that you had. You know, I mean, at some point, you would think that they would fix this issue, address it on the assembly line or in, you know, design, production, whatever. You know, I've never worked in that industry, but I know how that kind of stuff works, though. I mean, at some point, you got to figure that they're going to say, you know what, we need to make some changes, update the design, or do some better QC or something to prevent this from happening. It's just really frustrating. So, you know, fortunately they made a lot of positive changes on the third generation of this engine, but, you know, as far as like the emission system and stuff, but there's still some issues with these things, and the oil leaks continue to be the most common issue with them. So anyway, the thing that I worry about is that now, here we are 2 years later, living in this pandemic world with the supply chains completely screwed up. So how long is it going to take now to get parts? I mean, it was a week. It might be 6 months to get parts now. Who knows? I guess I'll find out when I take it over there. But anyhow, I'm going to show you a picture that I snapped of, you know, up under the truck. Imagine that you crawl up under the truck over on the passenger side front tire area, and you're kind of looking directly up above the front axle. That's the image, you know, that you're getting ready to see. And you'll notice the oil dripping off of that bolt head. And it's one of those things that's only going to get worse with time. So I got to get it addressed, but it's unfortunate. So in other news, a lot of guys have been asking here lately, you know, about these tires. Tires seem to be like the most popular topic, you know. But yeah, a lot of people have been asking about how they're doing, and so pretty soon I'm going to be doing another update on them. But just a sneak peek, they're doing really well. You know, I just had them rotated yesterday. It's the first time that I've done a cross rotation on them. While I was at the tire shop, they did it for me this time. But anyway, we did a cross rotation on them, and as expected, the noise did increase. You know, after you start cross rotating these tires, which is good for them, it extends the life of them, but once you start doing that, you're going to have some additional road noise, because you can imagine, you know, the tread wears in to where it's kind of comfortable. You know, if you want to look at look at it that way for 5, 6, 7,000 miles, and then you switch it all up. And so then you end up having these sharper edges hitting the roadway in a different manner, and it increases the road noise on these things. So they did get noisier after the cross rotation. They still roll really smooth down the road. You know, they don't vibrate and rumble. You know, they're smooth and all of that. They just do make some noise. But I mean, look how aggressive these tires are. You know, you would expect them to make some noise. As far as tread wear, I put my tread depth gauge on here and checked them. These are at 18-30 seconds. These are the ones that were on the front. And then of course I moved the ones that were on the rear up to the front yesterday. They're at 17-30 seconds. I'll have to check and jog my memory as far as what these tires measure out to when they're brand new. I want to say 20-30 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark. It's usually somewhere around 20. Could be 19, could be 21, but it's somewhere around 20-30 seconds when they're new. And down to about 17 or 18. Now the ones on the back are the ones obviously that were a little bit lower because, as you can imagine, they're really doing the most work, you know, pulling and pushing the truck, especially when I haul and tow. So they wore down just a little bit faster. But I have about 5,500 miles on them. So to lose 2 or 3 30 seconds of tread in 5,500 miles is not really all that bad for a mud tire. So they seem to be, excuse me, almost fell down there, tripping over stuff in the garage here. But anyway, they seem to be wearing really well for a mud tire. They're wearing evenly. Let me see if I can get a shot. Maybe if I turn this direction, you can see. So these again were the ones that were on the front. And you can see that there's very, very minor feathering, which, you know, to have these on the front of a solid axle truck for over 5,000 miles, that's not bad at all. But for the most part, the tread is wearing very evenly, guys. And like I said, extremely minor amounts of feathering there. If you run your finger over those sipes, you can just barely feel a little bit of feathering. And of course, the ones that were on the back, which are now on the front, don't have any of that at all. So they're wearing smooth and even across the face of the tread. The rate of wear is pretty good, and they're still smooth. The only negative is that they increased in noise a little bit, and they still continue to pick up gravel and throw rocks really bad. But I guess that's kind of one of those things that you have to deal with an aggressive tire like this, you know. But yeah, a lot of people ask, you know, if you had to do it all over again, would you buy another diesel? And I think I still would. It's really frustrating to have another one that also has an oil leak. I mean, it just really frustrates me if you can't tell. But yeah, I would get another diesel because it's just such a drastic difference over the gasoline engine. Now, if you're talking about Rams, where you have a Hemi to choose from and the Pentastar engine to choose from, you've got some options there. That might be a little bit different story. You know, if I was definitely going to get another Ram 1500, I'd have to really think about it. But in the Jeep, I would definitely go diesel again because it's just a massive, massive difference in terms of fuel economy and in terms of power. It's just so much better in so many different ways. So yeah, I would go diesel again. But I do wish they get these, you know, annoying little issues figured out. It's just ridiculous.